Morning! I used my old intro. Let's play the power thing. That's more like it. That song gets me in the mood. It's a little bit more energetic than my old intro. How's it going, everybody? Thank you for joining Cherokee Joy. Morning, Alex from Sydney, New South Wales, Australia. How's it going? Karen is here. Hi, Alex and all. And Brad's in the chat. Hello, Ginger Ninja. How's it going, Brad? Thank you for joining. Paris is back on my radar. For those of you who don't know, I went over to Paris in April for the opening of Scientology's new Ideal Org. It's technically the Église du Scientologie and a celebrity center in Paris. They merged the two orgs into the lovely new building that used to be the headquarters of, I can't remember if it was Philips or Siemens, but a big tech firm. Multi-million-dollar building was refurbished and opened as an Ideal Org. And the reason they were under so much pressure to get it opened ASAP is because the Olympics are happening in Paris later this month. So they wanted to make sure they have a base near where it's all happening so that they can distribute flyers and promo and bring people into the doors of the Church of Scientology. Now, I'm going to share some pictures with you to give you a bit of context. This is the Ideal Org. This is a picture that was taken at the opening event itself. They have since installed, they've got rid of this TV screen at the top that says Scientology. They now have a permanent Scientology sign that's about the same size there. They also have one on this side of the building and over on the right-hand side here. And I think there might be one on, I think they've left this bit clear, which is where it would make sense to put the sign, but they've put it on the glass in front instead. So it's a little bit more prominent, and it is located right next to the Stade de France, which is where the Olympics closing ceremony will be taking place. This is a screenshot from Google Maps satellite view. And you can see here, the Église de Scientologie, a celebrity centre de Paris, is just here, the red marker. And this is the Stade de France, which is where a lot of the Olympics will be taking place. I'm pretty sure it's the main stadium for the Paris Olympics. It's literally a stone's throw away. You can actually see the stadium in the background of the org if you stand on the other side of the road from where this photo is taken, because this is looking up at the building. If you were using a drone or you were on the other side of the road, you could probably see the Stade de France in the background just here. So it is very, very close. Now, Scientology like to use big, large international events like this as an opportunity to promote themselves and get the message out there. And we saw this at the London 2012 Olympics. I was on staff just before that happened. And then was off staff when it actually happened, but then rejoined shortly afterwards. We'll talk about that in a little while, but let's show you the post that I saw on social media that explains what their plans are in Paris. Come to Paris for the Olympics. Come to Paris and participate in our distribution campaign during the Olympic Games, launching July 14th, 2024, and the campaign will last until August 12th, 2024. Time slots 10 a.m. till 8 p.m. Book your participation right now to be part of the team. We need your help for this unprecedented distribution. And then you have the contact information for the two contacts at the Scientology Church in Paris, should you wish to take part in this distribution campaign. I have since been told that the number of booklets Scientology are aiming at distributing during the Olympics is 1 million. 1 million booklets. Of course, these would have been paid for by different Scientology parishioners who've donated to the IES and such. And these booklets are not going to be your typical Scientology curious, find out more promo that we see on the web. It's more likely going to be a truth about drugs campaign. Now, the Foundation for a Drug-Free World is one of Scientology's many front groups that's funded by the IAS, the International Association of Scientologists. And it's one of those things that's a grey line between whether it's officially recruitment or not, because these little booklets that they hand out are about this large, and it gives you different facts and information about drugs and the impact they have on your body. Now, I'm going to use the term facts quite lightly because it's all based on the teachings of L. Ron Hubbard and not necessarily on science or evidence-based medical information. It's just Scientology trying to warn people not to take drugs. Nothing wrong with that. Fair enough. Go for it. However, these booklets are produced by the Church of Scientology. They are a way to get in contact with people and therefore try and gain legitimacy or get some sort of recognition for the good work they're doing in the community. Scientologists generally don't actually care about the community. They just want to have good PR. They want to cover up any stories that are going on in the press that might be negative about them. And they want to have evidence that they can use in any applications for charity status or religious exemptions, because giving out booklets about the truth about drugs shows that they're a charitable organization, is what they'll sort of claim. If you heard that, I do apologize. It's really hot in London today. It's pushing 78 Fahrenheit, which is 26, 28 degrees Celsius. I have my window open and I live in London, so there's a little bit of road noise. I apologize. If you didn't hear that, then I just sound like a raving loony, which is just funny. So this is what they plan to do. They plan to distribute 1 million booklets. Now, let's not also forget these booklets are produced in-house by Sea Org members. So this is slave labor at its finest. Sea Org members at New Era Publications in Denmark and or Bridge Publications over in Los Angeles, who have to work grueling long days, 7 days a week with no time off, and get paid $50 a week for the privilege. They are working in this big printing center to produce these booklets that are then made, they're stapled, they're shipped off to Paris, and they are then distributed during the Olympics. This campaign has already started, and it is ongoing, and it is simply due to Scientology trying to have a greater presence in Paris. I want to show you a little bit of some similar activity that's been going on recently around the world. This was during the Euros, the football or soccer for the Americans watching this. The big European tournament that just took place in Germany is a similar large-scale international event that Scientology wanted to capitalize on to try and gain some sort of legitimacy. And they were out in the streets campaigning. Here are some pictures. This is the sort of thing we are likely to see in Paris over the coming weeks. This is a flipboard, a flip chart that they've put up on the streets, and they have said to sign this if you disagree with taking drugs. It's also known as a drug-free pledge. So the idea is they get passers-by to say, hey, will you sign a pledge to not ever take drugs? And people will say yes, and they will sign the flip chart. This is the sort of thing we'll see, but in French, obviously, in France. Here are some pictures of this distribution happening in Germany. So they're not all necessarily wearing the typical turquoise drug-free world gear. They are just wearing hats, or they're just wearing their normal clothes, football outfits to make it look like they blend in. And they're handing out booklets under a nice little umbrella there in the center of town. Here's a picture of some teens signing the drug-free pledge. And here they are. Here's the team in all of their uniform. So this is what we're likely to see in Paris. Now, let's not forget that the org is just a stone's throw away from the Stade de France. I don't know the rules and regulations around distributing booklets and promotional materials at the Olympics. The Olympics are generally really highly controlled events where it's really restricted in terms of who can be in and around the vicinity and what can be given out and what can't be given out. It is likely they do not have permission to distribute flyers or leaflets on the premises of an Olympic stadium. However, considering they are a neighbor, they're in the local area, I would imagine they probably would get away with handing out leaflets on the perimeter of the stadium or outside the actual Olympics territory itself. But who knows? I don't know. If you are an expert in this, please let me know. I'd be interested to find out. Hello to some of you joining us in the chat. We've got SP Crusader Leany. How's it going? We've got Vanessa. Hey, I signed a drug-free pledge. Yeah, I think all of us did. You know, it's one of those things that they try and do for the sole purpose of demonstrating they are a legitimate organization trying to do good in the world. In actual fact, it's an opportunity for Scientology recruiters to have conversations with the general public and then offer them information about drugs no one knows it's anything to do with Scientology, so they can get a conversation, and at that point they can pitch Scientology. They can say, hey, if you want to find out more information, come along to the Church of Scientology around the corner and we can tell you more, at which point they will then try and sell a book, a life improvement course, personality test, all that stuff goes on. Care for JCYT is in the house. Thank you. Hi. Good day. These are some more pictures that I was sent recently because this is what's quite alarming, and it'll be interesting to see what happens in Paris. Scientology quite often use children for these campaigns because think about it. You're walking down the road, you're on your way to, the 100 meters race, or, to watch some sporting event, or even you're just in the local area shopping. And a child comes up to you and offers you a little booklet, says, hello, here's a booklet. You're going to say yes. You're going to go, thank you. And you're going to take the booklet because, it's a kid and you're trying to be nice. And they've been told to give these booklets out. So they often use children because they know that adults find it hard to say no to kids. It can be seen as quite mean. And quite recently, Scientology did a similar campaign in Crawley, which is down near East Grinstead, St. Hill, the UK headquarters of Scientology, and used children to distribute the booklets. And here are some pictures. This is a picture of two Scientologists here briefing the children outside St. Hill Castle, which is their UK headquarters. Because one of the things Scientology often will try and do is the Foundation for a Drug-Free World. It's got nothing to do with Scientology. It's an independent charitable organization. It's just funded by the IAS. But here we see the Foundation for a Drug-Free World briefing children on the UK headquarters of the Church of Scientology. If you ever needed proof that it's a Scientology-led operation, here it is. This is another picture of one of those children wearing a shirt that's way too big for her, probably because it makes her look cute, handing out leaflets here in the UK. And here is a guy taking it. You can see no one's going to say no to that because it's cute. But unfortunately, it's a recruitment tactic and it's disgusting. They're using children to forward their recruitment aims. You can see here, this child is distributing booklets about painkillers. Now, the different booklets they produce, there's one that's just a generic truth about drugs booklet, and they go into each different type of drug, painkillers, prescription painkillers. There's one about LSD, there's one about marijuana, about cocaine. Any type of drug you can think of has its own booklet, and they'll be distributing a wide variety of those based on what they perceive to be the biggest issue in the area. I would imagine they will be handing out a lot of alcohol-related booklets at the Euros, or they would have handed out a lot of alcohol-related booklets. And at the Olympics, I'd imagine they'd be handing out lots of generic drug-free world promo, but who knows? Let's talk about London as well to give you some examples of the lengths and extents that they go to at Olympics Games. This photo was taken on, I think it looks like Oxford Street, or maybe Regent Street in London during the 2012 Olympic Games. And they hired a red London bus for the day, plastered it with Truth About Drugs promo, and they got the Jive Aces, Scientology swing jazz band that is based at St. Hill, to play from the open top roof of the bus jazz music as it went down the street. Obviously, it got a lot of attention. Look at the number of people in the bottom left of the screen that are looking up to see the jazz band play. Now, as a marketing person, this is quite smart because it's grabbing people's attention with live music. They look up and what do they see? They see a really striking find out the truth about drugs banner on the bus. So it's getting the message out there. I got to give them props. That is a smart marketing move. However, the successfulness of this campaign is really hard to measure because you're going to have people walking alongside the bus handing out leaflets. But how do you know if the people you're marketing to are even drug users? You're just marketing to the wider public. and using things like a red London bus, which is iconic in London, to try and make it appropriate for the local audience. They'll also try and snap pictures like this one with police officers. Now, I feel for these two police officers because they really don't know what they're getting themselves into. What's happened here is this lady has offered a Truth About Drugs booklet to the police officers and said, "Hey, I'm working for a charity. Can I take a picture of me giving you the booklets, please?" And the police have gone, "Yeah, sure, why not?" The police don't need to know the truth about drugs. They already know because they are faced with people with drug problems on a daily basis. But what this has given Scientology is a picture that makes it look like Scientology are cooperating with the police force in the local area. This picture is actually taken outside the Tower of London. You can see the wall here on the left. So they have an iconic location. They have iconic British bobbies, as the Americans like to call them, and they have a Scientology volunteer, and they're all holding drug-free booklets. It's all a marketing campaign. The reason this person has given these two police officers drug-free booklets and asked for a picture is not because she's trying to educate them on the truth about drugs. It's not because she's trying to help people get off drugs. It's because they want a picture they can use to promote the campaign to current Scientologists and say, "Hey, this is where your money is going. This is what we are doing. And this is why we are so great." Some more pictures here. This is one of the more iconic photos from around that time during the Olympics in London. You can see Tower Bridge in the background here, and all of these volunteers, most of whom were Scientology staff at the London org I used to work with. They had a big campaign. They're spread out wearing their tops in a photo opportunity to make it look like they've got hundreds of people handing out booklets at a prime location during the Olympics. Now, I'm not being funny, but there weren't any Olympic Games going on at the Tower of London. As far as I'm aware, the Tower of London was not an Olympic venue, but it is a busy part of the world, and it is a busy part of London where there's lots of tourists walking past. But most importantly, you can get a picture here with the Tower Bridge in the background, which is, as I say, the only reason Scientology want to distribute booklets at the Olympics. Why am I showing you this? Because it's important to prepare yourselves for the inevitable imagery that is going to be coming out over the coming weeks of the Church of Scientology handing out drug-free world booklets at key Paris landmarks. Don't be surprised if they put a picture out outside the Arc de Triomphe or outside the Eiffel Tower. Most likely, the majority of their campaign is going to be led from the Stade de France, which is right around the corner from the org. Don't be surprised if Scientology put out a press release in the coming weeks to show the great work and coordination that they have shown working with the Olympic Organizing Committee to distribute these booklets because we're doing such a great job, when actually there's been no coordination going on whatsoever. Scientology is seen as a cult in France. It is officially listed as a sect. It is not seen excuse me, it is not seen as a charitable organization. It's not seen as a religious organization. It is seen as a dangerous cult. And therefore, their activities are closely monitored by the government, by an agency called Mivludes. And it will be really interesting to see their reaction to Scientology's promo campaign. You can't give out 1 million booklets and not be noticed by the authorities. For those of you who want a bit of facts and figures, I did a bit of Googling here. And it says here, these are the facts and figures around Paris 2024. So there will be around 10,500 athletes descending upon the Olympic Village. And it is estimated there will be 15 million visitors to the Olympics, including about 2 million from abroad. So Scientology's campaign to hand out 1 million booklets is not even going to reach half of the visitors from other countries, let alone the people who are in France, who live in Paris, that they are trying to recruit to become Scientologists. This campaign is purely a photo opportunity and a numbers opportunity. They don't want to hand out 10 pictures, 10 booklets and have one picture. They want to hand out a large number so they can say, "We handed out 1 million booklets. Isn't that great?" Those booklets are made by modern slaves at New Era Publications in Denmark. So if you are in or around the Olympics, I advise you not to take one of these booklets, or if you do, live stream your interaction with the person, what you're talking about to them about how harmful and dangerous Scientology can be. If you want to read up on this, I have a blog, scientologybusiness.com, where I wrote an article about this the other day. Scientology to launch distribution campaign ahead of the Paris 2024 Olympics. All of those pictures that I just showed are there, along with the article, references and links to different things that I've shown. So go and give that a read if you want to. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to have a look at these comments that I've been starring as we have been going through. Craig has a question. How can this leaflet distribution during the Olympics be fought against or stopped? That is a fantastic question. And at this late stage in the game, I don't know if it can be, other than if you are in Paris and you see them distributing leaflets, I would report it to authorities and say, hey, do they have permission to distribute promotional materials during the Olympic Games? Because the promotional materials, advertising, marketing, all that stuff is heavily controlled by the Olympic Organizing Committee. And so they would have to have permission to do such a thing. That's what I would say if you're in Paris. Ubik Brad says, when I recently went to Brighton Org, I got some truth about drugs promotion info and the DVD. There we go. They have it in every org. There is no doubt about the association between the Foundation for a Drug-Free World and the Church of Scientology. Craig, in a few weeks, it will be Brighton Pride and very busy in Brighton. Do you think Scientologists will be handing out leaflets in town during that time? That's an interesting one. I don't know, because as much as that is an important, big local event, Scientology is notoriously anti-gay. Scientology preaches that if you are gay, if you have sexual relationships with someone of the same sex or gender, if you are anything other than a typical straight male-female couple, you have something wrong with you that can be cured through auditing. They will accept gay people onto services, they will take their money, but you will never see a gay person or bi or curious or transgender or any other colors in that rainbow flag go clear, because those things are seen by Scientology as an aberration of the reactive mind, which is what you're trying to get rid of in Scientology. So in terms of whether they will be handing out leaflets at Brighton Pride, it will be interesting to see. I would hazard a guess and say, yes, they are going to be handing out leaflets, because they will try and get anybody through the doors that has money, especially during this current time when they are shrinking and getting smaller and smaller by the day. They need all the money they can get from as many people as they can. And I know several people who were gay that were on services, but they would never be allowed to do the upper OT levels unless they stopped being gay for the purpose of the OT level. So my guess is yes, they will be handing out leaflets, but there's also to consider the fact that they are focusing entirely on Paris right now when it comes to their promotional activities. So who knows? But Craig, if you're in Brighton, keep an eye out. And if you spot them handing out leaflets, take some pictures and send them in. My email is hello@apostatealex.com. I'd be really interested to see what they're up to down there. And hey, if it's going on for a couple of days, maybe I'll go down and we can do a bit of protesting or live streaming together. Careful JCYT says, how do the French people, or how do the French feel about the Church of Scientology? Well, I will leave you with this one fact, and that is, when Scientology tried to purchase their building that is now the Ideal Org in Paris, 30,000 local residents signed a petition against the acquisition of the building, including the mayor. The local people of Paris in and around the Scientology church building do not want Scientology in their neighborhood. They are not welcome in Paris. The French do not like Scientology, and it is listed as a sect. That means Scientology are going to be trying even harder to try and prove their legitimacy through campaigns like the Truth About Drugs. And that is exactly why they are going so hard and calling it an unprecedented campaign. and calling it an unprecedented distribution campaign, and why they're giving out 1 million booklets, because they are trying to prove to the French authorities they're a legitimate organization and overturn that ruling that saw them as a cult, defined as a cult or a sect. However, we cannot forget that Scientology has been found guilty of fraud on 2 occasions in France, one of which resulted in L. Ron Hubbard himself being found guilty and sentenced to a jail term in absentia. He had left or fled the country before the court date, so he never showed up and he never served his term. But back in the 70s, LRH was found guilty of fraud in France. And there was another ruling more recently. The French don't like Scientology, but that's not going to stop them trying. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. If you want to read more, read Scientologybusiness.com, the link down below. If you want to support the channel, please consider buying me a coffee. That helps me pay for the hosting for Scientology Business. It helps me pay for the StreamYard, the expensive stuff like that that goes on behind the scenes. I will continue bringing content as and when I can. And for the rest of you, please do consider liking, commenting down below, sharing this video, and I'll see you guys on the next one.